Unlike the oblique muscles, the muscles that enable us to move our hips, such as our hip flexor, hip abductor, upper thigh and butt muscles, get some attention if we do any exercise at all. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to spend time telling our body how to move in different ways than it's used to by doing the exercises I'll be showing you. These hip isolations will be similar to oblique isolations that we did, but we're going to isolate our upper half now so we can teach ourselves to move our hips separately from our upper half. Just like we kept our hands on our hip bones for our oblique isolations, to make sure that we didn't move our lower half, we're going to put our hands on our rib cage. This is meant to be a check to make sure that we keep our rib cage and shoulders squared off, meaning the left and right are even and facing forward with no movement. The other absolutely essential thing with any hip movement is to bend your knees. If I try to move my hips side to side without bending my knees, it looks like this. Not entirely sexy, but if I bend my knees, now I have some room to increase my range of motion. So always remember that moving your hips requires bending your knees. Now, let's get to the posture we'll use for all levels of our hip isolations. Stand straight, feet apart, bend your knees, making sure your butt isn't pushed out, nor should you have a pelvic tilt. You'll be somewhere in the middle. Last, put your hands on your rib cage. As you start to move your hips, make sure that rib cage is not moving, nor your shoulders. We're freezing our upper half. Now, raise one hip up. You should be on the ball of your foot that's on the same side as your raised hip. Now, try the other side. Like the obliques, take it slow during this level 1 hip isolation. We don't want any assistance from momentum. Keep moving from one side to the other, making sure you're not swaying side to side as you move your hips. And that rib cage and your shoulders should be frozen, should not be going up and down. Your head shouldn't bob up and down like this. All the movement is coming from the lower half. You should feel the movement coming from your waist, your lower back region, and some inner thigh. Think of trying to get this hip bone to touch or collapse into your waist. After you get the swing of going side to side, you can progress to one fluid movement, side to side. So that's side to side, but we also have to strengthen the muscles and build flexibility front to back. So relax your upper body. Now let's isolate your upper body again. Stand straight, bend your knees, make sure your butt's in a neutral position, and hold your rib cage. You're immovable from the rib cage up. Now, you can stick out your butt. Stick it out as far as you can, and then make the biggest pelvic tilt possible. Again, stick out your butt, and biggest pelvic tilt possible. Keep going. As you strengthen all these muscles and you stretch to increase your flexibility, your range of motion will increase as well. Remember to go slow with these level 1 isolations. Momentum is not your friend. With each slow move, consciously tighten to the point where you feel some resistance. This will strengthen your muscles that you need to make these movements. Now that you know how to move or articulate those fine movements of your hips, let's graduate to the level 2 exercises that will increase your ability even more to move those hips in ways you haven't before.